do this video since Karsen is about to be 3 on the 22nd of next month. I wanted to do this, I guess, a birth story on him at the moment. I still want to do Caden's, but I wanted to do Karsen since he's about to be 3. So just to give a little prior information, we did try for 5 years to get pregnant with Karsen. I do have PCOS, and I suffered through infertility for 5 years. We had to go on several different fertility meds, and then I found out I was pregnant June 22nd, the day after Caden's 6th birthday. I found out I was pregnant, and then Karsen was due March 6th. Okay, so starting at around, I think, 28 weeks. Starting at about 28 weeks, I think it was the flu. I got the flu, but somehow it went into like bronchitis, and I got really, really, really sick. So I started having preterm labor. I went to the hospital. I was, like I said, 28 weeks. I went to the hospital, and they was able to give me some medicine to stop the contractions, gave me some fluid, and discharged me later on that night. When from 28 weeks to 38 weeks, there was a couple times I wound up having to go back to the hospital, to the labor and delivery, for the same issues. So between 28 weeks and 38 weeks, I was having sporadic painful contractions. At my 38-week appointment, which was, I'm saying, February 18th, 19th, the doctor checked me, and I think I was 3.5 centimeters dilated, and he told me that he didn't think that I was going to make it to my due date or my C-section date, which I had to schedule C-section with Karsen due to having a C-section with Caden, and that the hospital that I was going to and the doctor I was going to didn't do VBACs, and to me it wasn't something I wanted to do. So that was, I think, February 19th. February 21st, I was me and my mom went to Walmart to get fabric because she was going to make me those ring slings, but I wanted it my way, my color and stuff like that. And my mom, she can make anything, quilts, slings, carriers, whatever. So we went to Walmart to get the fabric for it, to get the rings for it. I also picked up some pads because I knew my C-section date was March 3rd, and it was March 3rd. March 3rd. I went into Walmart, got that stuff, got some pads. So I knew that because of it being March, like even in 2 weeks, I still wanted to be prepared in case something. So I wanted to make sure I had everything stocked up in case he was born a little earlier. So we bought that. She bought the fabric. We went home. She made the thing. Stephen got off work around 7 o'clock, and we hung out that evening. I didn't think anything of it, and he went to bed, I think, around 11:30, 12, because he had to get up and go to work the next day. with the pregnancy with Karsen, I was a lot more tired, and so I would just fall asleep on the couch, in a chair, um, just different places. I've never been one to be able to fall asleep early or fall asleep anywhere. I'd always have to be in my bed, comfortable to fall asleep. But when I was pregnant with Karsen, I could fall asleep anywhere. I was so fatigued and tired. So I set his clothes out, since he had to get up at 6 o'clock the next morning. Set his clothes out, and I was on my phone. I think at around 12:30, I fell asleep on the couch. And like I said, I didn't expect anything, so I figured I would have woke up around 3, 4 o'clock and went and got in bed and just lived the next day. So around, I think I remember it was 1:56. I woke up and I felt my first contraction. With Caden was induced before the C-section, and so I didn't know what true contractions felt like other than Pitocin contractions. But this one it was weird because it hurt, but it didn't hurt really, really bad at first. And so I laid there for a little bit, and I had another one, and it was about 5 minutes later. So I pulled my phone out, and I did the contractions, and then I went and laid in bed with Steven, and I laid there for about 2 hours contracting. It was going between 3 and 5 minutes apart, and they were lasting at least a minute. And because we had a scheduled C-section, I wasn't told about contractions and things like that. So I laid there for 2 hours, not thinking it was going to be anything. And I didn't want to wake anybody up because I was afraid that it was just false labor, and I would wake people up and just without, I would wake people. I was afraid that I was going to wake people up, and then I was going to be sitting home, and it was going to be nothing. So that's why I laid there for 2 hours. So finally, I think around 4 o'clock, I tried to wake Steven up. And like I said, I didn't really think that it was real, and so I didn't really push too far on waking Steven up. So I just told him that I was in labor, and he didn't wake up. That man could sleep through anything. So at around 4:15, I texted my mom, and I said, this is exactly the words I said. I said, wakey, wakey, I think you need to take me to the hospital. So she texted me back. She said, hold on, let me get my clothes on. I'll be up there to get you here in a minute. So I think it took her like 5 minutes. And like I said, she lived right around the corner, like maybe 300-400 feet between our house and her house. So she came up there, got me. I didn't bring my bag or anything with me. I just brought my phone and the charger in case that they did keep me, and then I would be able to call Steven and he could come and bring all our stuff up there. So on the way over there, they were consistently getting 3 minutes apart, and I was starting to kind of panic a little bit, but I still didn't think it was real. So I didn't want to call people. My mom's like, I think you need to call. You're 3 minutes apart. You're in labor, Dicey. I was like, okay. So I let her go ahead and call, like, my sister and my dad and the people. I got a hold of Steven and told him that I think I was definitely in labor, but I would call him and let him know if he needed to come up there. So I got to labor and delivery. They got me all hooked up, and I think we got there around maybe 4:45, 4:50, 5 o'clock. It was early in the morning. They got me all hooked up, and I was definitely having painful contractions at that point. And they were 3 minutes apart, lasting about a minute to a minute and a half. So she checked me, and she said I was at a 4. And then the doctor came in and said that they won't make any decisions on if they were going to go ahead and do the C-section then, or just send me home until after they know that I was having changes in my cervix. And I'm going to insert a video of me right now, of me in labor delivery waiting to go back. So
Carson's heartbeat up here.
Yeah.
This boy, it's erratic.
Yeah, usually before contractions it goes down. Then it goes right back up. It's typical though.
That one now.
No.
Come on.
So they monitored me for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I was definitely having contractions, like I said. They came in there and checked me, and I was at a 5. And they said that they were going to do the C-section that day. They didn't want me contracting against my scar on my uterus from my previous C-section. So between, let's see, it was about 6:30. Between 6:30 and 8:30, they came in, got my IV started, got, I guess they shaved my belly and the top part of my pubic bone area. I know at one point in time I had a contraction that lasted about 3 minutes long, and Carson's heart rate went from about 130 to 60 beats per minute, and it scared the crap out of me. So the nurse comes in, she lays me on and tells me to flip on my right side, and it didn't help. So after about a minute, she had me flip on my left side, and his heart rate went back up. And she said that more than likely it was due to the contraction being so long. He was probably laying on his umbilical cord from the movement of it. So he was probably laying on the umbilical cord and couldn't get enough oxygen and blood and stuff like that through the umbilical cord. So I had to stay on my left side from about 7 o'clock to 8:30, which was painful because when you're having contractions, which at that time they wouldn't give me anything to help with the pain or anything, which I didn't ask, but they didn't give me anything that could help with the pain. So they finally took us back, which I'm going to insert some pictures as I'm talking. They finally took us back. They had Steven. Well, they didn't take us back first. They had Steven dressed in his little head thing and like his suit thing. They put my hair cover on. Put my little booties on because apparently in that hospital you cannot go without their rubber booty things. So they gave us all that, got us all dressed, and then about 8:45 they took us back. Which this hospital they let the partner or spouse whatever go back with you and just wait with you inside the operating room, which made me feel a little bit better that Stephen was there. So they got me set up on the thing, go to put the spinal in. And I'm going to tell you, the epidural did not hurt. The shot or anything. Even when I went back for the C-section with Caden, they just put the spinal medication in with the epidural. They never did redo it or whatever. The spinal with Caden or with Karsen was painful. It hurt so bad. I almost jumped off that table. They did give me a shot, but I still felt the pressure in my spine from the spinal. So finally they got it in. They laid me down, and by the time I laid down, I was already numb. I couldn't feel anything. But once they laid me down, I started dry heaving and had a hard time breathing, and they said that my blood pressure had dropped too low. So they gave me some medicine to kind of get my blood pressure up a little bit, and then gave me some medicine, some nausea medicine. So when we was laying in there, And they gave it to me, and in about a minute and a half, I started feeling better. So I was happy for that. So they started talking to me and telling me what was going to go on. They got this little sheet up or whatever. And soon after, I guess they decided, or I guess they did the incision. I heard all kinds of stuff, smelled all kinds of things. And then next thing I know, they pulled the sheet down and kind of raised my head up a little bit so I could watch Karsen being pulled out. So they pulled him out, put him, kind of showed me, and then took him to the little area where they clean him up a little bit and do the APGAR scores. He scored good on both of them. Stephen went over there for a little bit. They handed Karsen to Stephen. He brought the baby over, and then they put the baby that he was already wrapped up. They put him right here on my chest, which I couldn't do much, but I was able to touch his head and all that. So they let him stay in there about 5 minutes, and then they told him that he needed to go to the nursery so he can get his check, get all checked out, and make sure everything was okay with him. So they left, and then they finished on me. By the time that they finished on me and put me on the little stretcher bed to take me to recovery, oh my goodness, I started itching really bad, and I was burning up, and I was sweating, and it was one of the most horrible things I've ever felt. I couldn't stop itching. I was like, I wanted to set up, and they wouldn't let me set up, and I understood why, but I still wanted to set up. So they willed me to recovery, and they said usually about an hour that you have to be in recovery. So I had some people back there, but I think at one point in time they asked me if I needed a fan, so they got me one of those little bitty those little stand fans or whatever. They got me a fan. I had my what is it called? My hospital gown up to right underneath my boobs. My legs were out. The only thing was covered was my woman areas. But other than that, I was sweating really, really, really bad. And she said that it was more than likely due to the hormones and the medicine that they gave me in my spinal. So finally, they wheeled me back to our room, and I was able to hold Karsen for the first time. I don't remember a lot from that day. A lot was going on, but I do remember just those certain things that.
Yes, I know. Oh, oh, you're so mad. Look, you got your daddy's nipples. You got your daddy's nipples. Yes. Yes. Oh. Oh, little
I think
baby.
he just got lonely, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was in his mama's stomach for a long time, and now he's not.
Pictures of Karsen and maybe a video of Karsen right after he was born. So, anyways, that's Karsen's birth story, just the overview on it. There wasn't a lot of stuff going on due to it being a C-section, and I was in labor, and I did dilate to 5, but once I got to 5, is when they took me back. I don't know what I was right before they took me back, but once they checked us and I was a 5, that's when they decided that they were going to do the C-section. There was no need for them to continue to check me. So they did continue to monitor me after they did check me, just to, for the heart rate and stuff like that. And I will say the recovery with Karsen was really, really hard on me. Caden was bad because, Caden's recovery was bad because I got really bad sick after him. I think I had a, what is it called? A urinary tract infection, but it was something else. I can't remember, like a kidney infection or something like that, due to them changing the, man, I can't remember nothing. What is it called? The thing that that they put in you when you need to pee, or like to pee. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, due to them changing that. So, but when Karsen was born, I guess one of my staples busted that night and wound up, I was like, I had, it was leaking really bad. And from what from what our doctor figured out a week later, was that my incision was closing this way, and it was leaving a pocket of fluid, and it was just straightened out. So they had to pack that. I was running 103 fever. I thought it was an infection because of the leak and stuff like that. But I don't know if it was my body going into shock or what, but it was like, at one point in time, Stephen helped me in the shower, and I think we both thought that I wasn't going to make it that night because I was shaking, like almost convulsing, shaking, because I was running fever and I was sick, and it was just horrible. It took me a good 3 weeks to feel better after Karsen was born. So I mean, I don't regret ever having Karsen or whatever, but it was just a really hard time for us. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you liked the pictures that I'm going to insert, and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe.